are available. So take it away, Paul. Thanks.
Thank you, Steve, and good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me today, and just go through a few items today. I'll talk a little bit about the IIJ implementation and a little bit on the 5-year program, you know, the Build America Buy America, then wrap it up with the little discussion on the construction cost index. If you have questions, feel free, you know, just to, we don't have to wait to the end. If something comes up that I'll try to address it. If not, we'll make sure I will follow up with the information requested. So is the visual okay, Steve, as we go forward? Okay, cool. And so the you know, it is a 5-year surface transportation bill. And as you may know, it is enacted with when President Biden signed it in the fall of 21. It creates, you know, new formula programs, but a bulk of the money is in the discretionary grant programs, and we'll talk a little bit more about those, where I see there's a lot of opportunities for the industry and providing resources to help local agencies go and apply for those grants. It provides stability in the funding for the infrastructure over the next 5 years. And when it's all said and done, you know, ADOT was looking at close to a little over $200 million a year between the fiscal years 22 and 26. And as I mentioned earlier, a lot more opportunities within the grants, the grant programs. So these are some of the recent grant awards from some of the local agencies. As you can see, you know, close to, you know, a little over $76 million there that these entities received for these raised grant applications. You know, City of Phoenix, Tucson, and also the Colorado Indian Tribe in the Parker area received a good chunk of money for the Mojave Road reconstruction. So again, those, you know, are discretionary grant programs, and you know, I see where the benefit is for the industry to reach out to the locals if you have those grant services where you can prepare those grants, because those grant packages are pretty intense. You know, they're not just fill out the application. Or it really takes a real good proposal to be competitive with these grants. Oops, sorry about that. And so some of the grants that ADOT has applied for, okay. And we're, you know, we took, you know, we're serious about these grants, because if you look in our 5-year program, we dedicate $2 million a year for you know, applying for these grant services. So we're funding, you know, our grant team out of the 5-year program, but, you know, we also go out and hire consultants to prepare these packages for these grant applications. And so the 3 that we put in recently was, you know, the I-10 gap project. You know, the request was for like $360 million for, you know, for the project along I-10, and still waiting. Hopefully early this fall we'll hear the results of that. Then we put in and I'll show some expansion projects a little bit later, but you know, that's between Wickenburg and Kingman area. Then on the I-40 US 93 project, we recently applied $73 million for the Bridge Investment Program grant program. And one that we recently received was we partnered with the YMPO, and they hired consultant. It was Wilson with Dan Marin's team, and we were successful in getting a Department of Defense grant for a little piece of US 95 project. So there's, you know, a lot of opportunities there, but and so because also as part of the grant program, I don't know if some of you were following the recent legislation appropriation where it was called the Smart Fund, where there was $50 million appropriated going and trying to apply for these discretionary grants. There's 3 categories of funding that the 50 million can be used for. It can be used for a match. It can use for preparation of grant applications. But the other one that's really, kind of, I think will get a lot of attention is they're able to go after design funds and complete design for areas that they're going after the grant application. So that's something to keep your eye on, is the Smart Fund, and when that gets going, it should be anticipating taking it to the board in October, and hopefully later this fall we'll be able to actually implement the program. And that's just something to keep your eye on, where it could create a lot of opportunities. Any questions on grants or so far? Great, thank you. So the 5-year program, one thing I found out when I got into this new position is the 5-year program, never really stops. Once, we have the cycle where it gets approved in July of each new fiscal year, where the new program kicks off. But right away, we're the first month after, the first board meeting after in July, we're updating the program. And so there's a lot of new programs coming in, the carbon reduction, the Protect, the NEVI program, all those, were new items for the 5-year program. Those were formula programs. But with the additional funds coming in, we're able to add projects. Then the recent legislation too, also there was an additional $600 million that was put into the program. And so these were like earmarked projects that were identified by the legislators and was approved. And so those projects, have to be implemented into the program as well, because we like running everything through the program. That way we use all our resources, our E-STIP and all those resources are used for tracking the life of the project. That way nothing slips through the cracks. But again, it's a yearly process. Like this time of year, we're already talking to our sub-program managers, getting the new sub-programs, say like for right-of-way or utilities, where we begin to talk with those group managers and find out the funding for the next fiscal year. Then in the late, December, we meeting with MAG and PAG and developing their program and developing the projects that really identifying the available funding for the next, the 5th year of the program. Because every year we're just updating the program, but we're adding the new 5th year. Then in February, we take the tentative program to the board. Then that's when we do our public hearings in March, April, May. Then we take it to the board in June, where they'll hopefully adopt it, where it becomes implemented in July. So with the the new legislation, the new IIJA, when it was all said and done, this was how our estimate, how our 5-year program shaken out, where it's over $1 billion a year for the next 4 years. And so we, with that money, because some of those programs, like the carbon reduction program, the Protect program, those funds have to be identified for specific areas. And so we have a lot of interpretation, a lot of hours spent reading through the legislation. We meet one day just to go through all the different sections of the bill, just to make sure we're not, we have a good understanding of where this money needs to go and how we need to implement the new legislation. So that's how, or, the total apportionments is a little over $5 billion. But, that doesn't mean we have a lot of extra money, for expansion. I have to put this plug in for Boshin because he'd get pissed if I didn't. But, with the with the funding, really our focus is still going to be on preservation of the system. This is both for bridge and pavement, but mainly predominantly our bridge condition is getting a lot better, but our pavement condition is still on the downward trend. And so we just want to, any extra dollars, we really want to, try to see how we can preserve our system because it is aging. Many of it was built in the 60s. And so, it's over time, it's just a cycle of rehabilitation that keeps going on. So. Then some of the other programs that we'll be administering to as part of the normal 5-year program is HSIP. That's the safety dollars, and that's 40 million a year. That's competitive statewide. It's not used for the state highway system. It's competitive for the locals as well. And I know there's especially in the rural areas, to be competitive for those funds. It's important that you're able to follow the HSIP process, and mainly a lot of that is coming up with the benefit cost analysis and having a good project. I don't know if many of you seen, there's from our traffic safety that the application for HSIP, there's a lot of steps to it, and for those entities that master that step, they're being sought after just to be competitive with those applications as well. Then the new program is one of them is the Transportation Alternative Program. This is mainly geared for local infrastructure improvements. We're in the process of developing the program. This is for many of you who've been around as long as I have, it's kind of similar to the Transportation Enhancement Program. So this is kind of it'll be similar to that. We're looking at MAG's TA program to develop, to look at that as a model, but we're also we're using consultant services to develop this program. But this one will really be managed by the locals MPO COG personnel as this gets implemented. Then one of the new programs too is the off-system bridge. There's 6.5 million, 6.75 there. And the great thing about this one is there's no match. It's 100% funded. It's a competitive program, but if you qualify and successful, it's 100% reimbursement there. Then the off-system bridge, that's we have that current program for the locals, and that's requires a match. And one of the other newer programs is the NEVI program, where we're focusing on electric vehicle infrastructure throughout the alternative fuel corridors. Then a little bit more on the bridge programs. So we have a total of pushing $11 million. Okay, for the programs. Again, the STPG set aside does require the match, whereas the highway infrastructure program does not require a match. So again, these on the highway infrastructure bridge apportionments, where the bridge has to be in poor condition and where we can bring it up to fair or good condition. So we actually have to look at the bridge inspection reports to see if it qualifies for that funding. Any questions? But there is some expansion. Okay. We do have, as many of you know, the I-10 project from the loop 202 to 387. As mentioned earlier, we did apply for the mega grant for this project. This project is the I-10 is the top priority for the agency, and we're looking to have the 6 lanes, through the 26-mile corridor. This includes upgrading interchanges. We plan to include the broadband as part, to be included in the construction of the project. It's not part of the project, but we're looking at ways to make sure it gets installed during the construction, during this reconstruction of this section of I-10. So the funding, we, based on the current estimates, we're pushing every bit of, $1 billion for the project. A lot of partnering going on with MAG, the Colorado River Indian community, just to make a project like this successful. Then also the recent legislative appropriation allocated additional state funds of $400 million. That's really, it's, I don't know, for many of you who follow this, that's really unprecedented what was done with allocating this much money to that corridor. Then we submitted for the grant. Then if successful, 100% of the project will be funded. So, we have multiple plans going on, because, if we're not successful with the grant, what are we going to do? We still have, there's a couple $100 million of the raw fund, plus we have the $600 million of state funds, and it's very dynamic what's happening with that corridor. But at the end of the day, the worst case is we have $600 million still to invest in the corridor. So we're behind the scenes, we're working on plan B, plan C, just to come up with a way to keep the corridor moving forward if we're not successful with the grant application. So for those of you following the project, there is public hearings scheduled. There's one actually tonight and a couple next week. Those are in person, followed up by the virtual hearing, because we're at the DCR and the EA stage, and so we're accepting public comments, and so just food for thought there. Whoops. So we have other expansion projects too in the program. We have the Lion Springs is in the program. It's along SR 260. That's 109 million. Then we have some expansion in Prescott at the Prescott Lakes, the Prescott Lakes Parkway to Frontier Village. Then we have the Anthem Way to Cordes Junction project. Then also, which is part of the GAP project, the I-10 Gila River Bridge is still being developed separately in case things don't work out with the grant, but that is moving forward. Then we have big investments in on US 93. Over 150, close to 193 million along the corridor to kind of make that area where it's 2 lanes in each direction, divided highway. It has, many of you have followed, it's been designated as I-11 corridor, and it's just we need to get this section done, because when we have fatals there, it just creates a lot of issues for traffic. And so that's all in the program. Then our real big project in Kingman, the I-40 US 93 West Kingman TI project, that's in design moving forward, and looking to deliver that in FY24.
Hey, Paul?
Yes.
So a question on that Kingman one. You mentioned before there was a grant there for 73 million. Is that for this phase of the Kingman TI, or is it for the next phase?
It's for this phase, and what And see what the good thing is, if we're successful in those grants, it frees up money to invest in different areas within the system. So that's why, you know, we're you know, striving to be very competitive at these grant opportunities, because that way it frees up funding that we can invest in different areas and create more projects.
Great, thanks.
You're welcome. So any questions on the program or IIJA?
Paul, hi, this is Kevin from Western Tech. On the I-10 between Chandler and Casa Grande. So the whole thing could cost 990 million. Is that what you're saying? And you just asked for an extra 360 million?
Yes, that's correct. Where our estimates, you know, when we applied for the grant, our estimate was, because you have to project those dollars out, year of expenditure out. Our estimate was at 990 million. And so when, as far as the funding we had available between the state funds and the funding from MAG, our request for from the US DOT for that project was 360 million.
In addition,
Yes.
if everything comes together, what's the earliest that could ever start? If it all works out?
Let's see, they were thinking in it'd be calendar year 24 with a or late 23 with a completion in 27.
Okay. All right.
It's on a different. So.
The Indians are on board, the environmental's all been done, and it's all good to go.
Well, no, that's where we're in the public comment period for the environmental document as part of the NEPA process and the design concept report. We have partnered extensively with the Colorado River Indian community. You know, we entered into an agreement where they're actually helping us facilitate the right-of-way acquisition. Okay, and so their team will be working with our team when we begin to go out and acquire those rights of way. And so.
I think on that one, you're talking about the Mojave Wash or the Mojave Road reconstruction.
No, that's in my recollection of that project. That's in Park, Arizona. That's with the Colorado River Indian Tribe. And so I'm not sure of the limits of that project, but that used to be, well, when I was within the Southwest District, that's my recollection, the Mojave Road. I'm pretty sure it's the portion just from Parker going north or going southwest.
Paul, on I-10, was Governor Ducey involved with a lot of that, with the reservation, negotiating that?
You know, been in my position since March. So since I've been here, it's been mainly the ADOT team working with the Colorado River Indian community. Or project manager has developed, Carlos Lopez has developed an extensive relationship with the GRIC, with the GRIC, and between our team and their team, you know, things are, all the meetings I've been to, everything has been positive, you know. But, you know, until you start buying rights away, things, you know, could change.
Sure.
So,
A lot of allotments out there, I bet.
yes, there is. And that's where some of the concerns are with the allottees and the amount of time it may take to acquire those rights.
Hey, Paul, this is Scott Sales again. On the bottom of that screen there, you got the 21 million for US 93 for the two sections of 93, or is that? For all?
No, that's for those two sections. And that's, you know, estimated, you know. That's what's in the program.
How much is 93 divided highway now? What percent?
Oh man, I don't have that information handy. Sorry.
Only been in that job since March. Well, how many rabbits are there between milepost 331 and 330?
In the Southwest District, there ain't any. There's jackrabbits.
Aren't guys from Yuma the smartest guys at ADOT?
No. I don't know. We're just the hardest workers.
Heine told me that once.
Okay. Okay, and so we'll move on after that one. I didn't hear that.
Ed Mears, hey, what's the latest on your guys' projections, the effects of inflation? You're going from a little over $700 million a year program up to a little over $1 billion. How much is that kind of lost to these increased costs of part of our design and construction costs?
And I'll go ahead and jump into the CCI discussion. That's one of our big concerns is, yes, we got more money, but we're seeing a 30% increase. Let me go to the slide real quick. When we get this, our CNS folks developed this construction cost index. And so, over the last Q3 and Q3 FY22, we saw over a 30% increase in cost. And so, we unfortunately, a lot of the additional dollars that we're seeing are getting absorbed up with the inflation. When you see fuel prices what they are, lumber prices what they are. I didn't realize the price of lumber. I went to go buy a 4x8 sheet of plywood. It was $45. And so those costs get passed on directly to us when it's bid time, and rightly so. But we got to cover the agents, the contractors are in it to make money, and so it's challenging, but we just got to get through it. And
Paul, we're seeing like that, the same type of increases just in salaries.
Oh, right.
At all. So I think a lot of those construction costs, because that $45 piece of plywood 5 months ago was $80. But we're starting to see the salaries and the construction costs going way up.
No, everything's going up, and salaries going up. That's always a good thing, but it's got to get your costs covered. So. Okay, let me go back up to one of the. We'll try to get through this one. This is kind of new material for me, but anyway, as part of the IIJA, there is the Buy America, Build America, Buy America Act, and it has to do with getting more products manufactured and made in the U.S. So there's a lot of good intention behind the act, and so some of the requirements is that all iron and steel used in the project are produced in the U.S. And so this, means from the melting stage through the application of coatings, then all manufactured products used in the project are produced in the U.S. and the cost of the manufactured products are mined, produced, and manufactured is greater than 55% of the total cost of components. And the first two have been there, but the newest one is on the construction materials are manufactured in the United States. This means all manufacturing processes for the construction material occurred in the US. And there is the act came out in May of 14, and we're currently operating under a waiver until November of this year. Then after November of this year, unless there's a waiver extension, all the projects that are receiving federal funds will have to ensure that their specifications are adjusted to meet these requirements. Oops. So I had a question because I'm no longer, I noticed that Karen Hobbs was on here. Hi, Karen, I hate to put you on the spot, but I was wondering, is the ADOT Standards Committee working on revising the Buy America specifications?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, and so it is our intent, to, in talking with Bill Fay, our state construction engineer, it is our intent to, comply with, naturally comply with the requirements of the new Buy America, Build America. But, we have to develop these specifications and so that's what we're, the standards committee's teams, that's one of their responsibilities is to update these specifications. And so I think we're moving forward in that process. Because some of let me find it here. Some of the construction materials that we'll need to develop specifications for, like non-ferrous metals. And what I mean by specification, this way the contractor can provide proof that and certify that his material meets the Build to Buy America requirements. And so it's, we do it now for steel and iron, and it's a pretty straightforward process, but now it's just going to apply to more materials, and it's non-ferrous metals, plastic, polymer-based products, PVC, glass, including optic glass, lumber, and drywall. So all those construction materials they'll require additional certifications. When it's all said and done, we'll have specifications, but when we're in construction, the contractor, before using the material on site, he'll have to provide those certifications, like, kind of like they do now, but this will include a broader range of construction materials. So any questions? That's kind of what I had, Steve and everybody, and appreciate the opportunity to speak and update you on some items.
Thanks, Paul. Any questions for Paul? I did. Paul, back on the grants for the mega infrastructure, is it the timing at the end of this month, October 1st?
Well, see, what happens, let me see if I can share. Let me go back. I didn't want to hit the link because I was afraid I'd mess up the presentation. So this is the bipartisan infrastructure website, and these are competitive grant programs. So, I really think it, if you're in the business, this is something, to be familiar with these grants, because they come out on a cycle. They'll do a notice of funding opportunity. And so once that notice of funding opportunity comes, that triggers, okay, it's time to go on the grant, where there's a deadline. That they have requirements, but most importantly, they have the deadlines of when information is due. And also it's kind of like the guidance on how to put your proposal together, what's it looking for, what's eligible, what's not eligible. And so what the DOT did, FHWA, is they built this site here where you can go in and learn about these grant programs. But what's also cool about it is who qualifies for what, and so you're able to work with the local agencies and say if they wanted to apply for a rural surface transportation grant program, that the highways, the state highway, the MPOs not qualified, but the local agencies are. And so it's kind of helps you just navigate through the grant program. Then the grants, you want to be familiar with the grants.gov site too. And that's just where a lot of you can get more information on the grant programs as well. To answer your question?
It does.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. You're pointing us in the direction to do some research.
Yeah, that's kind of what my intent was, is to, it'll take you to do some research to really get through these programs. And there's just so much money in the tribal areas that, because they always can use the assistance, and if you can get your way into some of the communities, reservations, and there's a lot that can be done there.
Anybody else? Hey, Paul, one more question. What did you think of the U of A spoiling your brand new stadium at San Diego State in their first game last Saturday?
Oh yeah, I was channel surfing and came across it, and that's unfortunate.
First game ever.
What's that?
And the U of A Kitty Cats blew out San Diego State. Was that sad?
Yeah, I don't get wrapped up into too much of that, but
Was
I
any
think
of
they,
that 315 million come from you?
I'm sure it did. No, but I think they got, like, U of A got the new coach, right? And I think he like brought half the team that he came from. So it's all good. Game one, but that whole area they're redoing and is supposed to, come out, because that's the news. That's where the Quailcom used to be, and that whole area they're starting to redo. So I don't know, that gentleman who stays a month up there in Coronado, you may want to check it out later.
I'll do that one. All right, Paul. Good one. Good one.
So
Anything else for Paul? Well, thanks, Paul. Appreciate it very much, and hope you'll do this once a year for us, maybe.
you bet. And I would have, if I didn't have the other commitments, I would have been in person, but for those bagels and egg sandwich, I think it was, you said.
Steak and eggs.
Yeah. Also to give Carl a hard time. But just wanted to close. I don't want to end on a downer, but I just want to keep your thoughts and prayers into, I think, I don't know if all of you know Kevin Burge. He was a civil engineer who worked for Corps. 48 years old. He passed away recently, and great guy, and had a family, unfortunately left behind. But just one of our fellow comrades, unfortunately, died at early age. And if you know Doug, reach out to Doug. I'm sure he's just trying to get through it as well. So
Thanks for sharing that, Paul. Appreciate it.
you bet. Everybody have a great day, and rest of the week, stay cool. I think there's rain coming, so it's supposed to cool down by the weekend. So,
Thanks, Paul.
all righty.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
We'll turn it over to Amerigo. Do you have any announcements from ACEC?
The biggest one, obviously, roads and streets at the end of this month. We're inching ever closer. We had originally sold out all of our trade show booths. I had one cancellation, so if anybody's in the market for one, I do have one lone booth left. And don't forget the golf tournament. So all of that is available on our website. Engineering Excellence Gala and the Legacy Awards information is also up. And the winners are on the website. Pictures are not yet. Figure out how to get those, but all that information is available on our website.
All right. And because Roads and Streets is the last week in September, we will not have an October ADOT ACEC meeting, but we'll see you back the first Wednesday in November. And it'd be great for you to be in this room if you can, because this is where the great people are.
And the cats want to see more people.
That's
And
right.
if we get enough, we'll get biscuits and gravy, so.
And steak and eggs. Hey, Marigo, what's going on with the ADOT ACEC partnering meetings?
I do know that it was brought up, and I think Joy Melita is on if she hasn't left yet. She was,
Hey, Amerigo, I can take that.
oh, Bill's there.
Had meetings with Amanda McGinnis and with Dave Martin, a couple meetings over the last few weeks. And there's been a lot of push on our part to be participating in that committee. Dave basically said that the discussions to date are more specific to contractual language between the between ADOT, between the agency and the contracting community. I've pushed really hard to be involved with that at this point, and especially because of the elections coming up. Our next steps are we're actually going to have an ACEC board meeting combined with AGC immediately after the elections. But more specifically to your point, ACEC is in the process of developing a subcommittee to prepare our thoughts and contributions to ultimately an ADOT AGC ACEC meeting. So if there is interest from folks in the room, please feel free to shoot Amerigo and myself your thoughts on that. We're trying to get some headway into getting people on that committee. Obviously, we can't have 200 folks on the committee, but we want to make sure that we're covering, large, medium, and small firms. We need folks that are familiar with P3 and design build process. But if you have folks that you would recommend to be on that committee, please forward those thoughts to Amerigo and myself.
And just to add, Bill, and if Joy is still on, I don't know if Paul was specifically asking about the meeting, the partnering meeting with it was with Joy. We've had 2 partnering conversations, so I just want to make sure your question gets answered, Carl.
That's not what I was asking. I was asking about the original ACEC ADOT, like,
The principals roundtable?
not the principals roundtables where we used to have the
The
quarterly.
different tasks
Yeah,
that were worked on. I think that was, Joy Melita was really our liaison with that, and I don't know if she's still on.
Yeah, I'm here. And like Bill mentioned, this is something that will come up at our board meeting tomorrow about bringing these meetings back or the need for these meetings. So stay tuned for more information on this front. But yes, it is a separate, a broader topic than just, the AGC topic that Bill was mentioning.
Sorry about that, Carl.
yeah. I mean, I'm confused because we didn't have these quarterly. We had them like every other month before. And it was just pretty much opportunities for the consulting group to coordinate and communicate with the ADOT groups on some of the projects or some of the issues we're having with contract language. I don't feel that AGC, ACEC, and ADOT would really benefit from that perspective because AGC has a whole different contractual. I mean, they're low bid. We're quality based type stuff. So I'm just trying to figure out what you guys are talking about.
So there's 2 things going on. I think what Bill was referring to, there's a pretty high level discussion that AGC has initiated with ADOT for that P3 design build contractual language to get that smoothed out or advanced. And then there's the other platform you're talking about that should be resurrected.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
To provide that forum for open discussion with ADOT. That's what I think.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Because I had no idea you guys were meeting on P3 contractual language.
I think we're trying, that's what Bill's point is. ACEC is trying to get a seat at the table, right, Bill?
Yeah, that's correct. It's a little hard to hear you guys, but I think I got it. So 2 things that we'll get back to this group on. Joy and I will talk about resurrecting the ACEC ADOT liaison meetings. And I'm working with Justin and AGC to get a ADOT AGC ACEC committee conversation going as well. So we'll report back on both issues.
Thanks. Can sign off now if you haven't already.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Let's see. We'll see you at Roads and Streets.
Thank you.